Hello friends, I hope that you are doing well today. I know that we don't often release two videos in the same day over on this channel. However, I'm going to make an exception because today is annual spooky day. It is Halloween, and while the original video that was released today, the story time for the generic werewolf jump, is actually somewhat somewhat thematically linked to Halloween, very vaguely, just because werewolves and Halloween stuff. We are actually going to be releasing a more thematic video. This is a jump doc read through of a generic Halloween jump by one of the jump makers over from Reddit, Burkess. This is the generic Halloween, a holiday of horror jump. The nomenclature of the points is trick-or-treat points. We are going to be diving right on into this. We're going to be talking about the perks. We're going to be talking about the locations. We'll probably talk about some of the drawbacks, and if there's any notes, we'll probably talk about those as well. Here's hoping that this video doesn't take super long, but also is fun and entertaining, just because it is a thematically linked jump. I feel like it's appropriate. Let's go ahead and talk about it. We are going to be starting off with the location section. There are 3 locations that someone could choose from. The first location is a setting of your choice, but with more Halloween, so you could go to a generic version of Earth and find things to be a slightly more spooky. Maybe fall is more focused on Halloween than it is in our version of Earth. Halloween World, where it's always Halloween, is the second choice, and then Halloween Portal World. Halloween Portal World is just a continuation of something that Burkess is fond of doing, which, to be fair, is something that I have taken from Burkess as well, and that I tend to use in some of my supermarket style jumps. It's a planet covered in portals. Said portals will take you to any setting where Halloween exists. You'll always be able to find your way back here somehow. I personally, if I were in this jump, would probably just say fuck it and choose Halloween World, just because I feel like there's enough Halloween stuff and enough different takes on Halloween that you could go and find a lot of interesting stuff in a world that is just Halloween. This is a supermarket style jump, so there's no backgrounds. You can choose something plausible, so you can give yourself some memories to start off in if you want, as is tradition with many supermarket style jumps. Age and sex, pick whatever you want. We are not doing a build for this particular video, even though we definitely could. I am very fond of spooky jumpers, and in fact, generic creepypasta, which is one of my favorite jumps, is also one of my favorite first jumps, even though it's probably a little too dangerous for a first jump, because the implication with first jumps is that you don't have anything other than what the jump gives you when you go to a first jump. So that's definitely a ballsier world to go to than a lot of people would probably choose. Perks, everything here costs 100 points unless stated otherwise. You also get some tokens. These can be redeemed to get anything you want for free. Anything you buy here can be purchased multiple times. Doing so would provide an additive bonus. Now we get to go ahead and start talking about the actual perks. Let's go. Okay, so ghoulish candies, you can make gross or inedible things edible. This also allows you to alter the flavors of something you make to match or be similar to something you've eaten before. This is not a complex perk. It makes it so that you are able to eat things, anything that you want. This is a very handy survival perk. And it also allows you to alter the flavors of something that you make. So that way, if you have to eat a rock, but you try to find some way to prepare it, or if you manage to cut something up and cook it so that it counts as being prepared, you can alter the flavors of it to make it more palatable to you. Very fun thing. Halloween Seer, you gain the ability to make predictions about the future. The closer you get to Halloween, the more accurate they become. Otherwise, they're vague. On Halloween Day, you're able to clearly see future events hours before they happen. Please note that this is not a super powerful Seer perk, but the conditional bonus that you can get from doing it closer to Halloween potentially makes it very handy. This is also a great baby's first precog perk. Precognitive abilities are not the most common types of superpowers that you will find in jump chains, but they are up there. There's lots of different ways that a jumper could get the ability to see the future, so that's just something that's really cool. Blessings of Pomona will turn you into a wood nymph for Dryad. You can cultivate fruit trees, gardens, and orchards using your powers. If you watch over them, you will vastly improve their yield. shields, and you can also give blessings of fertility to humans and animals. So basically you become a spirit of fertility. I definitely think that's a neat thing to include in a Halloween jump. I really like that kind of thematic ability, and I also think that this is a good perk. This is definitely something worth getting. So if you are someone who is looking for a reason to try to come to this particular jump, and you are a dryad or a druid or something like that, you could definitely come here for this particular perk. Ghost stories will allow you to enter a trance where you are telling stories and channeling the spirits of the dead. They can explain how they died and play up the circumstances of their deaths in the most spooky ways possible. Of course, if you don't want to channel a ghost, or if there are none for you to channel, you will still be able to use this perk to be able to get a variety of true stories that you can draw from to craft your tales, or even to just repeat them word for word, which would probably still be entertaining, particularly if you have entertainer perks from something like Generic Bard, which is a very fun jump that already exists by my buddy Erdo Grimshell. Love Divination. This is a very fascinating one to me. I don't exactly know why this is in a Halloween jump. I really like it, but it is interesting that it's here. Basically, it makes it so that you'll be able to divine how someone's future love interest will look using tricks with a wide variety of instruments. And as you gain more experience with this particular ability, you'll be able to use it in a wider range of different circumstances. I think that this is a very fun perk. I really like this if you want to make a practice of being some sort of psychic, or if you just want a sort of neat parlor trick that you can use to spookify your buddies. Just a really fun perk. Going begging makes it so that you are able to more successfully beg. People are going to be more likely to give you free stuff, and of course you have the social and psychological knowledge of how to best manipulate people to give you more than they intended. Even when it's not Halloween, Have Pity makes it so that you are able to unconsciously and consciously trigger other people's senses of empathy and sympathy, especially if you're intentionally trying to do so. You're able to cry on command and can produce sob stories as easily as you breathe. If someone you are dealing with has protective instincts, this will be especially potent on them. Great if your jumper decides that they just don't want to work for a jump, or if they just want to not work for a little while and get by doing something that's not work. Although it's worth noting that going out and asking people for money is tiring, and it is real work. It's just not work that people tend to like. Party Planner is a perk that makes it so that you are able to plan a party or event. You will know what sort of stuff people would want to see when you are thinking of them. You'll be able to get, if you think of a group of people, you'll be better able to create parties that mix and match the sorts of things that they would want, and that would make the party more memorable. Ultimate Prankster is just a prankster perk. This can be very fun. It can be very inconvenient for your enemies. This can be a surprisingly nasty trick in your repertoire, especially if you have abilities such as the power to turn invisible or teleportation abilities, which you can get in a wide range of different ways. Just a very fun perk to have. The best treats will make it so that you know what sorts of gifts people would prefer. You even have a feeling of where you can obtain what it is that people would like, just in case that is something that would be interesting to you. Witchcraft is a magic perk. It's just a really neat magic perk that makes it so that you're always able to do the sorts of magic that people believe in and that exists in different settings moving forward. It's not clear how fiat-backed that magic that you get from other jumps becomes, which is kind of a shame, but it is still very neat that if there is a setting that you go to in the future that has magic that is not granted by fiat, you could still do it. Just very cool. Just a fun thing to be able to have. I See Dead People makes it so that you are able to see invisible, hiding supernatural creatures as well as spirits. You're even able to speak with them and physically touch them if that's what you want. Expert Vandalism makes it so that you have the ability to both go and commit vandalism and also not get caught. It also improves your sneakiness and stuff like that. Just a really cool ability to pair with the Prankster perk from up earlier, especially because it can be combined with Expert Vandalism in ways that make you a right terror if you are dealing with enemies and you want to subtly sabotage them, or not so subtly sabotage them and just harass and harry them. Costume Artist makes it so that you are able to create hyper-realistic costumes and clothing. This can even work for making different props of various levels of elaborateness. Treat or Else is something that empowers your ability to make threats. You are able to intimidate people more easily, and you are also able to get what you want more easily. It's worth noting that some perks in this jump are decidedly more serious than others. Horror Killer Package is one of them, because obviously Halloween is not just fun and games for little kids, it's also a spooky month, and this is a jump that embraces multiple different facets of Halloween. So with Horror Killer Package, you are able to get a package of superhuman abilities that any good horror villain would have. You are as fast as a speeding car, you're capable of tanking gunshot wounds and keep fighting, and also you have the ability to rip trees out of the ground with your bare hands. You're skilled with your choice of melee weapon. This is a surprisingly solid melee perk, especially if you either are a baddie or you want to be a physical hero, especially if you haven't been a physical hero up until this point, but you want something that could get you up to snuff real quickly. The Greatest Escape makes it so that you are impossible to keep trapped forever. At most, it would take you a month to escape from at least non-supernatural prisons, and that is if that is one of the best prisons on the planet. So keep that in mind. This is definitely a perk that makes you a nightmare for your enemies. Halloween Spirit makes you a minor deity of Halloween. You gain a metric fuck ton of different Halloween-related abilities, and you gradually mutate until you perfectly encapsulate a spooky aesthetic that matches your personality. Obviously, the preciseness of how this manifests is up to your jumper. However, basically, this gives you conceptual powers over Halloween. I personally think of all of the major holidays, Halloween is probably the best one to get conceptual spooky powers over. That said, it is not clear how greatly this strengthens you. I assume at a bare minimum this makes you immortal and probably able to gain power from worshippers, but none of that is outlined, and many deities do not gain power from worshippers, including in a jump chain context. So just keep that in mind if you decide to jump to the setting and you decide that you want to try and think about how this would affect your jumper. Spooky Race option makes it so that you are able to gain some sort of spooky alt form. Just if you decide that you want to be a skeleton lad or a zombie lady, this gives you the ability to do that. The Frame Job is a very fun perk, even for heroic jumpers. If they know what it is that a criminal has done and they are willing to be a little bit shady with the justice system, and they know that a criminal will be able to escape a punishment for something that they actually have done, you can find a different crime and you can frame them for it. Now, obviously, that is not a lawful action. I wouldn't recommend it for every hero jumper, but basically this is a power that is fairly creative, and in the right hands you can do a lot with it. They're Gone gives you the ability to disappear when not being directly observed and teleport elsewhere, as long as those areas are not being observed within miles nearby. This ability, very importantly, has no tell, because many teleportation abilities that are otherwise really good leave some sort of tell of some sort. One of the best teleportation abilities that I've seen that is not you can teleport anywhere in the known universe instantly no matter what is the teleportation ability from Jumper, which actually does have tells. And by Jumper, I don't mean Jumper like you are a jumper on a jump chain. I mean from the book, possibly book series, and movie that came out in, I want to say, the earlier mid-2000s, about some people who have the ability to teleport from place to place. That has a tell. That is a very fun ability. The fact that it has a tell kind of sucks. This one does have limits. You have to not be observed, and you can only teleport into areas that are not being observed either. But the fact that it leaves no tells is incredibly exciting. This makes this a fantastic, easy way to get a teleportation ability, which is something that is not always the easiest thing to get in a jump chain context. At least not unless you're willing to go just about anywhere to get it. Didn't Really Die is a durability and healing factor perk that makes it so that you are obviously far more difficult to kill. It is a very fun ability. It also makes it so that you heal a lot faster when you are not being observed by enemies, which can be a very nice bonus if you are able to get away from opponents. This is effectively the sort of healing factor that you might see in a shooting video game, where when you get shot, the screen starts to blur and turn red, and if you aren't shot for a few more seconds, you begin to recover automatically. This is that kind of healing factor, but it works best when you are not being seen. It also makes it so that in order to properly die, you must be dismembered while someone is actively watching, which is definitely something that is risky, especially if you are the sort of jumper that has friends, which I believe is most jumpers after a while. Even Luciano, the jumper, my personal jumper, whose chain you can follow on YouTube, has made plenty of homies, even though they have no companions as of yet. Ominous fog and eerie darkness makes it so that you are able to release both a white fog and a swirling darkness across an area and quickly travel within it. Your body will temporarily become this material and it will reform itself at your location within the fog or darkness you've created. This is a nice way of utilizing some of the you cannot be seen in order to use these effects perks that we have previously gone over. Jump scare makes it so that you are able to more easily scare the bejesus out of someone. Clown gives you the skills of an accomplished clown with 10 years of experience. Objectively the scariest perk here. I don't know why anyone would take this. I'm kind of joking. I don't like clowns. Shouldn't go there gives you the ability to plant a beacon on an area that encourages reckless behavior, and for people to explore areas they shouldn't, they'll split the party, which is obviously always a bad idea. And if you are either a villain jumper or a hero jumper being hunted down by villains, this will give you an opportunity to get a leg up on the enemy. Mobility robber is also a very fun perk, especially if you are a physical type jumper. This makes it so that people will become more clumsy in your presence, and also that the longer they're exposed to you, you are more able to cause them to be able to fail at critical moments. This can extend to them dropping things and leaving important stuff behind. This could be a fantastic perk if you are a villain jumper and you go to a setting like Dead by Daylight, and also could be a fantastic perk if you are a hero jumper and you go to Dead by Daylight and you are a survivor who has to get away from physically imposing terrifying enemies. Forewarning music makes it so that you are able to play horror movie musical cues for other people, which is something that is really sick. Most soundtrack perks don't work this way, but basically this makes it so that you can terrify people just by getting close to them, and eventually people will probably start to recognize the cues that they're hearing in the back of their minds, and they'll start to learn that you're nearby, which can unsettle foes, especially if you have perks that make you spookier or scarier. Bird Lord, one of my favorite perks in this. It is just so ridiculous. It makes sense given that this is a horror jump. Still ridiculous. It grants control over birds. Your mind melds with theirs and creates a hive mind, letting you command them. Sapient birds and willful birds can resist this, and it becomes a contest of wills against you and your hive, against you and them, and that if you win, you are able to control them too. There is another perk that is like this, but for cats, which is even funnier later on in this jump. Without a Trace makes it so that you leave behind no physical evidence or clues that you were there. You are able to more easily cover up your actions to make it easier to torment and gaslight a specific victim. It also makes it more difficult for them to be able to get help because people won't believe them, which is just really sick if your jumper really likes playing mind games with people, or if your jumper has a reason to try and specifically terrify but not actually directly harm someone. So if you're a villain jumper, this is definitely a fun early jump for you. Split up and looks for clues. This is something that makes splitting the party more effective when you are the one doing it. Worth noting, splitting the party is normally a bad idea. With this perk, it becomes a little bit less of a bad idea. Group Breaker makes it so that you are able to split the party so long as you are not in the party and it is done to hurt people. Group Breaker is very fun. It's worth noting that Group Breaker synergizes really well with the Reckless Behavior perk from earlier. This, I think that it's a very fun perk, just something to keep in mind. Aquatic Predator makes it so that you are a spooky water monster. It's just a generic spooky water monster perk. It's very fun if you are someone who either likes water or if you are a more elemental type jumper. It's worth noting that many of my jumpers, not Luciano the jumper specifically, but many of my other jumpers broadly are water creatures who are very fond of water. This is probably because of the fact that, especially when I was younger, and even when I was first disabled, I really liked water because when I was in the water, my leg didn't hurt me quite as much. Horror Kid Army makes it so that you can open a portal to a horror dimension filled with all sorts of unspeakable creatures, including creatures who look like children and can be hired from here to do something that you ask them to do. This is probably just a Halloween, a Nightmare Before Christmas perk. I was going to say Halloween Town, but that wasn't what I meant. Where you can just go and use Oogie Boogie's minions, those annoying little brats from that movie, to do your bidding. Could be a lot of fun, especially because children can definitely be kind of creepy. So if you are looking for minions, this is definitely an interesting way of getting some. When you needed an expert, it makes it so that you're able to find experts in whatever issues you need addressed. Even if you are in a place where it would not make sense for you to be able to find experts, you'll be able to get a tip and then find someone capable of explaining what is going on. So if you are in a setting that you originally thought was not a horror setting, but surprise, it's a horror setting, you are able to use this perk to find someone with enough work who can explain to you what the heck is going on. This can definitely be used as a fun way of addressing drawbacks that make it so that you lack meta knowledge, or drawbacks that make it unclear what is happening at first and make things stranger looking. Becoming an expert makes it so that you'll quickly learn about stuff. It's basically a conditional learning booster that makes it so that if you are in a really dire situation, you'll be able to very quickly catch up and realize what is going on. Could potentially be incredibly handy. Doll Expert, Doll Maker is a perk that allows you to animate dolls and other objects to attack people. You can also set the conditions under which they'll activate and who they'll attack, letting them do their work even when you're not around. You can even make them do stuff other than attacking things. It's worth noting that despite this name, this does not actually allow you to make dolls, at least not as it's written. I assume that there is an unspoken boost to your actual ability to make dolls, but it's worth noting, again, that's not what is outlined in the perk, so I would just be homebrewing/home ruling that. A cat person is the it's the Bird Lord perk, but for cats. It makes it so that your true form is in fact a large pack of cats. You can turn into a cat, command cats, absorb cats, and curse people with bad luck. You can also absorb cats to heal your wounds, and can do anything a cat can do, exaggerated to be used in a body that fits your proportions. As long as one of the cats that makes up your true form survives, you can rebuild your body by collecting more cats. I personally think this is a ridiculous perk, but I love ridiculous perks. I'm such a big fan of this. It is a very funny visual to me. I just genuinely really like it. Matchmaking magic allows you to be able to help people find their true loves. You can decide how you do this, and also some methods of doing this work faster than others. But basically, if someone pays you the right price or does your bidding, or you're just a nice person, you can help them find their true love, and that's pretty cool. Hide in the Fridge makes it so that you are able to contort yourself into tight spaces. You can fit into any area that you can put at 1/10 of your body into. You'll then compress the rest of yourself in there. This is terrifying. I don't think that a lot of people really have the mental visualization needed to understand just how small a tenth of a body is. The average person in the United States is somewhere around 5 feet in height, roughly. And that means that the average person in the United States, if they had this perk, would be able to fit into a space that was 6 inches. Yeah, If you can fit one part of your body into pretty much anywhere, you can find a way to fit into there. This is terrifying. It's fantastic for jump scares. It's also just generally spooky. This is probably actually the most terrifying perk in this jump. I said earlier that it was the clown perk. I was kind of kidding, although I don't like clowns. When they least expect it, gives you the ability to appear where people least expect it. You have a mental radar for things, for these kinds of areas, and you can teleport there if doing so would allow you to catch someone off guard, which, surprise, it would. This is also a really fun prank perk, but it's also really good for just ambushing enemies. If you need to take someone down and you know that they're by themselves somehow, and you know that you're able to get the jump on them, boom, really great perk for doing that. The Last Survivor makes it so that you are able to offload your bad luck and misfortune to nearby friends. Worth noting, drawbacks that cause you to have bad luck probably override this. Probably. But this makes it so that you are able to endure fates that should have been meant for you. And it also gives you the ability to feed off of the deaths and pain of your friends and allies, giving you greater strength and skill. This perk, combined with You Will Not Take Them, is very interesting. If someone close to you would die or be put into a deadly situation that is instead offloaded to you, this will allow you to fight killers who would have tried to do bad stuff to your friends, handle accidents that would have ended them, and so on. You will know what is coming. This perk combined with The Last Survivor is an interesting combination. Just something to keep in mind. Shorting out gives you electrokinetic abilities. The basic manipulation, the basic way to use this is just to mess up technology. Potentially very fun. Horror convenience makes it so that you have a conditional luck booster that makes it so that you will benefit from a barrage of conveniences that add up to make things much easier to you. It's worth noting this is supposed to be in a spooky context. This is not a universal luck booster, although depending on the type of jumper you have, it certainly could feel like that. Killer ambiance makes it so that the lights will turn out as you approach. You can summon a chill that causes windows to frost over. Sounds of screams will come from nowhere. And basically, this is just a you can spook people perk, which is always fun if your jumper is either a villain or you want to play a rather spooky hero, which can be a lot of fun. I like spooky heroes, so I strongly encourage people to do that. Healing Exorcism allows you to drive ghosts and spirits out of someone, and it also heals people. One of the big things that happens at the end of a lot of Exorcist movies is that the victims of the demons and the ghosts and the spookies are left so weak that they either die or they're never able to fully recover. This allows you to ignore that, which can potentially be really great. That's just a really strong perk. Possession Transfer allows you to create traps out of objects, and you can charge up objects with an energy that would lure in ghosts and other spirits. If you are able to, if you're able to get into contact with someone who's being possessed by something with one of your traps, the thing that is possessing someone will be pulled out of them and will be pulled into the trap. Very fun perk. Devil's Curse. This is a very shitty thing to do to someone, and given that most of my jumpers are villains, I find this very funny. This allows you to ban someone from ever being able to enter an afterlife of any kind. They will be stuck in the mortal plane forever, even after they die, which is such a funny way of saying fuck you to someone. I imagine that there is an unspoken rule here that you can also end the curse that you place, at least as long as you place the curse. So that is something to keep in mind. That is potentially a home rule. That is not necessarily something that is written out here, just a way that I have made this perk a little bit stronger and also have a very neat weapon for dealing with people that I don't like, both with the curse and also as a way to gain leverage over people, because there's a lot of really nasty perks that you can use to torture someone or to brutally end a person, and then if you use this perk, you can make it so that they're stuck here rather than being able to move on to wherever it is they're supposed to be, which is a very mean thing to do, also a very fun thing to do. We are now in the items section. You can use the tokens to get items, so just keep that in mind. Trick or treat bowl. If someone reaches into the bowl, they'll get the treat that they like the most at the moment. It isn't always candy. This is something that makes it so that kids who come over to your house for trick or treating will always find exactly what it is that they want, presumably so long as this is a food item. Bonfire. The bonfire emits a light that wards off ghosts. Any who come near it are repelled. It also slows down hostile supernatural creatures. This is an interesting one if you are in a haunted house, or if you are near a haunted house or something, or if you're just being followed by an annoying ghost. You can use this item to get them to stop harassing you. Halloween costumes is a supply of infinite Halloween costumes. They even resize to fit on pets. I also assume that they resize to fit on people and that they just adapt to you, or you are able to find someone that fits anyone that it is that you are trying to give a costume to, because it's a supply of infinite Halloween costumes. A riding broom is just a flying broomstick, and also dancing over it and straddling it allows you to perform a fertility ritual that will bless people with healthy children who have easy births. So not that the healthy children have easy births, but so that the birthing person is able to more easily have a healthy and safe and presumably less painful birth of their kid. This also makes plants grow bountifully. Very fun. Literal haunted house. House populated by spooky dudes and by spooky creatures of your choice. They are nice to you, but they're also good at being spooky. So if you want to make money off of a haunted house, boom, here you go. Portal between worlds. This is very interesting. This is a portal that allows you to see through cracks in the local multiverse. It is worth noting that this does not read as you being able to travel into other worlds. I personally, though I'm not the jump author, see no real problem with someone doing that. But that is not the intent as written here. You can see into the afterlives of the setting that you're visiting. It is worth noting that lots of different jumps do not have many explicit rules about their afterlives, so I assume that you just fan wank. You could always do the Unitarian approach, or the Universalist approach, where all of the major religions have some version of their afterlife or something like that. Or you could just say that they're all wrong and that there is no afterlife, or there's an afterlife that is completely different from what anyone imagined. Feel free to fan wank it. This portal can also release Halloween spirits, which would spread the ideas and customs of this holiday across the setting and the types of supernatural creatures associated with it. It can even release personifications of either of other holidays, or which itself is done very interestingly according to this item's description. It will either cause these beings to exist spontaneously itself, or it would mutate existing spirits and beings into holiday personifications similar to the Halloween spirit perk. So if you really like Christmas, boom, you can have a Christmas homie. If you really like Thanksgiving, boom, you can have a Thanksgiving homie. If you really like if you really like Valentine's Day homie, that kind of thing. White hockey mask is, now we are into some of the more action-based items, but white hockey masks absorbs energy every time you kill someone while wearing it. It uses this energy to transform you superhumanly. You'll hit harder, run faster, grow stronger, and more. And the mask itself will transform to fit something that represents who you are and who you are becoming. The Clawed Gauntlet, which is a Nightmare on Elm Street item, gives you the ability to invade people's dreams and attack them while they're sleeping. When you battle them in their dreams, they are able to fight as effectively as they could in real life, / in the waking world. And if they die in their dreams, they die for real. It's worth noting that there are not that many dream things in this particular jump, which is kind of surprising. So if you want a dream thing, this is one of the easiest ways to get one. This also does give you baby dream powers. There are other perks that are more strongly focused. There are more jumps that are more strongly focused on dream stuff, but this is a very nice intro to dream things, so potentially worth getting no matter what your alignment is. Machete is a powerful weapon. weapon. It is a very strong fiat-backed weapon that never breaks or dulls, and it's capable of cutting through reinforced concrete with each string. Tribute plates allow you to leave food and wine to be consumed by spirits. This is just a nice Dia de los Muertos thing. If you are just a homie of spirits, or if you come from a culture that respects something akin to the Day of the Dead, this is potentially just a way for you to be really nice. There are no serious benefits here. I assume that the spirits would become friendly to you, at least if you leave them a good enough tribute, and they could potentially be befriended, especially if you have perks that allow you to see and interact with spirits. But if you don't have those perks, this is just a way of being really nice. Just really cool. Soul cakes. When you gift someone a soul cake and they promise to pray for the dead, the prayers will reach the dead. That is interestingly worded. I assume that this means that the prayers will be heard both by the dead and probably whatever creature or creatures judge them / guard the afterlife. That can be read a number of interesting ways. I encourage people to read it however it is that they're going to read it. Creature disguise is a lifelike disguise that makes supernatural creatures think you're one of them. It alters itself to fit into whatever expectation these beings have, and they'll overlook you. I personally would rule that this is a one-size-fits-all, and you could, with an act of will, shift it. But it's worth noting that that would potentially make it stronger than the intention is. So just rule that however it is that you personally would. A Ouija board it's a working Ouija board. It allows you or anyone else using it to communicate with specific dead people and speak to them from beyond the grave. I assume because this is a fiat-backed one that odds are there will be no harmful shenanigans that result from this, unless there is like a plot reason for there to be harmful shenanigans that would result from this, such as a drawback, although I don't know if any such drawbacks exist in this particular jump. Ghost camera is a camera that captures ghosts on film. It even comes with a ghost cameraman who will take pictures for you and record things. Very handy. Invisible orchestra is a professional spooky orchestra. They play tunes for your life and will give you a soundtrack for anything that happens. They'll send you the soundtracks they've made. Very fun. Cats, ladders, and cracks. A group of black cats that can curse anyone with bad luck, including ladders and cracks that do the same. You can place a crack down by pressing your finger to a location. It'll cause a crack to spread in the material, which will obviously cause those who step on it to suffer from bad luck, potentially even breaking their mother's backs somehow. Evil living doll is potentially an evil homie item that makes it so that you have a doll that is a spirit of a mass murderer stuck inside of a toy. Their goal is to steal human body via ritual sacrifice. This ritual enables you to steal someone's body by restraining them, trapping them in the doll, and swapping places. I assume because this is an item that the evil mass murderer will be your homie, so they won't do anything that would hurt you. It's worth noting that nothing here explicitly says that, but normally items that you purchase with choice points or trick-or-treat points in this case do not hurt you in any meaningful way unless it is specifically stated, and it is not specifically stated, so you could probably assume that the mass murderer would be your homie or would otherwise allow you to have some level of influence over them. Demon jar is a jar that contains the soul of thousands of demons. You can barter with a demon inside of it to hire it to help you with a task. Some of the demons are just monsters who attack their targets physically and magically. Others will use indirect methods. The demons are always bound to the exact wording of the deals they make with you and nothing more. I'm assuming that because you hold the jar and because you are their connections to the outside world, it is probably not very difficult to hire most demons, at least the beginner level demons. I'm assuming that there's different levels of power amongst each of the demons, even within their respective specialities. So basically, you could hire a greater demon, but obviously that would cost more than if you just wanted to hire like a low-level demon who was like a direct bruiser. But if you wanted to hire a greater demon who had conceptual abilities like charming powers or something like that, probably costs more. You can supplement this jump and attach it to another jump. You can also import another jump of your choice. You'll fill out the selected documents, keeping the point total separates, and then this setting and that other setting will merge into one. There are companion options. You can recruit anyone in this jump for free to join you as a homie. This is a perk you can use in future jumps. That is definitely worth noting. However, I personally rule that that does not supersede the costs needed for you to recruit companions if specific companions in a jump document are outlined and have a cost associated with them. So just keep that in mind. Here are some drawbacks. So it looks like there are not. Okay, cool. There are some original drawbacks here. Up until hunting targets, all of the drawbacks are part of just a generic set of drawbacks for if you want points. There's a horror monster after you and a confrontation is inevitable. They are roughly 5 times stronger than the average person in the setting you're in. It's worth noting that you could effectively take this drawback just for free points if you have gone to enough jumps already and you are already strong enough that this would not be an issue for you. No one will believe you. This is another interesting one. This one would have a stronger effect on you than hunting target would, because people are hesitant to believe in the supernatural unless unmistakable evidence is presented to them, and even then they're going to try to find some way to someone else's problemness and not believe in it. The war for Halloween makes it so that uh, anyone from any universe where Halloween exists can visit any other universe where Halloween exists, and a total war has broken out. Now there are 3 more additional unique drawbacks. Every bird on the planet seeks the death of all humans, and this is an interesting one. This could potentially not negatively affect you if you are not a human, and there are a wide range of ways that you could rule this. There's also a wide range of ways for you to not be a human. I assume that if you are a bird lord but still a human, then the birds would still come after you. But if you are, for example, say a Kryptonian or an elf or something, I'm assuming that the birds would not intentionally target you, at least not until you've made yourself an enemy of them. Nature wants revenge for human mistreatment, makes it so that there are a series of natural monsters that nature has created that will defend the planet from pollution and other forms of damage. Nature itself will not be appeased until the environment is cleaned up to a level it deems acceptable. I feel like this could potentially be worth a lot more than 200 points depending on how you decide to run it, and I feel like you should think about that and how many points it would affect your jumper and your jump for if you decide to make it a little bit more intense than this or a little bit easier to achieve. Vandals makes it so that there are many people who follow the old traditions of Halloween and focus heavily on the trick side. So you will see lots of different vandalism and a lot more cases of arson and other crimes, just because people are not getting the candy that they feel entitled to. So now we are over at the end of the jump. This was a fun read through of a jump that I really like. It's a real shame that I have not gotten to use generic Halloween in any of my stories or for many of my jumpers yet, but this is a fantastic jump by Burkess, and I think that it is a lot of fun. I strongly recommend that anyone who likes Halloween or just themed jumps checks it out. As usual, the link will be in the description. I hope that you all are having a wonderful spooky holiday, and I can't wait to see you all again. Bye bye, everyone.